this experience in a way has its horrors, you know? And I think everyone who has heard me yearn for motherhood and yearn for this for so long would have expected me to write the album that was full of gratitude. And instead I was like, no, this shit is so scary and so horrifying, and my body's changing and I have no control over anything, and I do finally have this thing I want, so I wake up in fear every single day that I'm gonna lose it. That's happening at night, and then you wake up in the morning and you have to call the CEO of XYZ and say, hey, hi, I'm just calling to let you know I'm pregnant. It's still business as usual over here though, don't worry. Don't worry, my personal choice isn't gonna affect your profitability or your productivity or your assembly line. And also, in what world would you ever have to call me to tell me that you were having a baby?
Yeah.
But I have to call you because it impacts your product.
Yeah, you are just stacking up one bullshit experience after another.
Everyone continues to sleep on Halsey's best album, and I am upset. And even though this album came out in 2021, I am still thinking about it. And with the recent single release of Lonely is the Muse, I am very hopeful we will get some of these same sparks of fun, grungy, rockier vibes that I think Halsey wears so well. Though at the same time, I hope she completely ignores what I have to say or anyone else has to say, because I think this album proves that she's at her best when they let their taste direct itself, despite the many well-documented stifling voices around her. And let me tell you, there are still so many people who try to downplay or cast off Halsey as the person who sung on the Overexposed Closer track by the Chainsmokers, and I won't have it. Also, maybe not in retrospect, but at the time, I loved that song. Halsey continues to get a lot of flack to this day, and frankly, just like a lack of respect around their work. And so I think it's high time we give this piece of work its public flowers. Let's take a look into what went into If I Can't Have Love, I Want Power, which I think perfectly showcases why Halsey deserves much more critical credit than she gets. Hi, I'm Kate, I'm an artist, and this is my series called Cattle Considerations, where I talk about art, culture, and the internet, and just like anything I want to have a conversation about. And wow, is this album underrated, okay? Or perhaps maybe just underexposed relative to Halsey's other works. When you think Halsey, correct me if I'm wrong, but most people think Colors, Closer, and Without Me, which nothing wrong with that. Plenty well-deserved, approachable, delightful jams. But in my opinion, you should be thinking, I am not a woman, I'm a god. You should be thinking, you asked for this. You should be thinking, girl is a gun. I've always casually listened to Halsey. I've always clearly loved pop music, and so I try and listen to albums as they come out, even if I'm not a diehard fan of someone. But this was the album where I was like, okay, wait a Notably, this album was produced by Trent Reznor and Atticus Finch. You might know those names because they are 9 Inch Nails. They have also contributed to some of the most iconic soundtracks. I mean, hello, Challengers. Hello. And then also The Social Network and so many others, but those are the ones that I personally just listen to for fun, irrespective of the movie. I think this is the album where Halsey's innate love of like 90s and a bit more of emo, pop punky sound really comes through and feels oh so authentic, because it is. And there's something really special about having a genuine collaboration, I would imagine, with someone who you respect and looked up to so much as an artist. Halsey stated she had been wanting to work with 9 Inch Nails for years because she really wanted a cinematic sort of, not horror specifically, but kind of really unsettling production. This felt like a departure from, I guess, the typical pop sound at the time. And it was. In assembling her team for the album, Halsey said, "If I want to sustain myself and give myself longevity, I need to continue to make things that I love and make things that challenge me as a creative." She reached out to Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross. I said Rose earlier, I meant Ross, my bad. Of 9 Inch Nails with a letter asking if they could produce the album. I was just really honest and said I was a huge fan and that I've been plagiarizing you guys for years. Badly, and I'm not arrogant enough to believe that I have anything new to offer you, but this album is about pregnancy, gender identity, and body horror. The most important thing to me is that this album has tension. It needs to be visceral or I'm doing a disservice to the message. And I think right there, if that's the attitude you're going into making a piece of work, that's right where you want to be, right? It's not the most safe, it's integrating a level of risk, and it's challenging you. It's also really notable that on this album, we see a small team, right? Other than additional programming or like session musicians, all the lyrics of this album are written by Halsey. All the production is done by Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross. It has a perspective, which we don't always see in pop music, probably because when you're on that level, you are quite literally an asset that people are investing in. And you know what people want from something they're investing in? Something that's safe, something that's predictable, something that is probably guaranteed to make them more money. But no. This album is not that, and that's why it's great. I talk about this a little bit in the utility of exclusivity, talking about Brat in this essay. But I think the best work and the most lasting work, not in terms of exposure, but in terms of how much a piece means to someone or has a lasting impact on the landscape, comes with creating something that's for some people and not for others, and that is okay. This album was also not heavily promoted. I mean, understandably, I think we need to remember that this album was created while Halsey was pregnant and having her first child, while writing about the horrors of childbirth and pregnancy. But I also wonder if some bit of that was deliberate because it's almost like it's so precious. Halsey's someone who has the capability to write very accessible hits. And we've seen those hits being played over and over and over and over, so much that that image of her supersedes what I would imagine her favorite tracks to be. I don't know for sure. Don't know the person. On the album, in a Hot Ones interview, they said that an album isn't supposed to know it has a hit. And with this album, they turned it around and made it so there was no real hit or radio song on the album. In a Zane Lowe interview, they mentioned that a lot of people nowadays are trying to make music you can play at a party or put on a playlist and it won't fuck up the vibe. But this album, the lyrics, the production were all engineered to get people to listen to what they had to say, and it's fucking awesome. This is one of the albums that was for the artist. And ironically, I tend to side that those kind of albums end up being the best for the fans too. I feel like Kesha's album Gag Order was similar to this. I also felt like some of the tracks off of Lana Del Rey's Blue Banisters, which also wasn't heavily promoted, are some of her most personal. I mean, Hello Dealer by Lana Del Rey, but different story, different day. And there was a whole film. There was a whole film that had a theatrical release across the country. I did not see the film, but from the clips that I have seen in the trailer, at the very least, visually gorgeous. And I cannot imagine that it would be easy to make a film under any condition, but especially while you are actively pregnant and trying to finish an album. The artwork depicts an artistic rendering of Halsey as Madonna, a category of icons and works of art depicting Mary, Mother of Jesus. She has stated that the artwork portrays the sentiment of her journey over the past few months and aims to uproot the social stigma around bodies and breastfeeding. The artwork was specifically inspired by the Virgin and the Child surrounded by angels and became a subject of widespread attention and discussion on the internet. Brave, bold move that I can guarantee you that their label tried to steer away from, but that just makes me love it more. It makes me love it more. And we have to take this image into context of some of the public traumas that Halsey has talked about, as well as some of her chronic health issues that she's been very vocal about. Halsey has suffered through several miscarriages, one of which she had to have an abortion to prevent her body from going into sepsis. She is a mother, she is an artist, she is someone who was quite literally saved by abortion, and being so vocal about that and has consistently been so vocal about that. Also, I also forgot she also talks about having endometriosis all the time. And these are all things that are very intertwined, very personal and political, and I really admire them for having the guts to do that on a platform of her scale. As a side note, Halsey has always been super vocal about the pressures that come with being a bigger artist. In most recent memory, there was that whole TikTok that blew up where Halsey quite literally told it like it is. In a video, she said, "I've been in this industry for 8 years. I've sold over 165 million records, and my record company is saying that I can't release the song unless they can fake a viral moment on TikTok." We have no idea what came of this on their side or with their management, but at the very least, this very much sparked a discussion of artists, marketing, and the role of a label online, which I think is nothing but positive, especially for artists who haven't reached her level of success. Like, if this is how you're being treated when you've reached this height, can you only imagine what it must be like for an artist in similar circumstances with less leverage? I have a lot of respect for Halsey, and it's really sad to see that she gets so much flack online. Some of it, I think, is just because she was very much an internet kid and blew up. You know, there's the infamous Malsey video where she was getting out, going around singing in malls, or someone asked her to sing in a mall. I don't really know. But the point is that if you go back long enough in anyone's personal history, myself included, you can look right now. It's right there. You can find plenty of embarrassing videos where, you know, someone is still learning things, and that is okay. Like, why should that be the forever stamp of disapproval on someone's capability as an artist? She blew up by cultivating a fan base on Tumblr. And maybe people discredit her because they're insecure because they come from the same place and they have not reached the same level of success or whatever have you. But she's coming back with a new era of some sort. She just released Lucky, which has a notable interpolation of Britney Spears's Lucky, which is a song that deals about the trappings of fame that people don't expect. And it's quite sad that she posted the following on her Tumblr the other day. "My own fans are hands down meaner to me than any other people on the planet. Not speaking for all of you, of course, but it used to be just a minority that were awful to me, and now it seems like a majority have only stuck around to chime in occasionally with their opinion of how much they hate me or how awful I am. It's hard to want to engage in a space that is completely devoid of any kindness, sympathy, patience, or, to be honest, human decency, especially after years of hiding from the interactions for fear that this exact thing would happen. I don't know, man. I almost lost my life. I am not going to do anything that doesn't make me happy anymore. I can't spiritually afford it." Oof. Obviously not great things to hear. I can't imagine getting that level of ridicule on a regular basis. I hope she protects her peace. I hope that the people who know and love her work continue to say so because she's an incredible artist. Full stop. Like, did you see all the performances where there's like the AMAs where it's this really cool performance where they're both painting, they're so cool while singing. There's painting live when performing East Side on SNL, super cool. And then there's the time-lapse graveyard painting. Like, I'm just so fascinating that someone could be so talented in so many different ways. Amazing. But yeah, even though it seems like she's going through a tricky time currently, I couldn't be more excited for this new era, especially with Lonely is the Muse. And at the very least, she continues to do something that so many artists aren't brave enough to do, frankly. And that is being brutally honest about where she's at, what she's going through, and what she believes in. The best art comes with a perspective, and I hope that Halsey continues to trust and cultivate hers. But yeah, anyway, I love that album. I love lots of Halsey's music, and I look forward to seeing what comes of it. And I hope people start being nicer. That would be cool. Also, so sorry, the lighting has been fluctuating. It is moving around. Yeah, thank you so much for watching. Really appreciate y'all, and I will see you later. Bye-bye.